I always ask this question because I'm curious, and if it comes from the person, then it can be kind of rote, maybe not very rich or deep. But if you really think about it and keep it fresh, some of you have been on the path for 30, 40, 50 years, and others maybe are just kind of waking up to this movement of illumination and the true self. But it's always wonderful to keep it really fresh. And the question is, what brought you here? Love, yeah. It comes down to that, doesn't it? It's love that moves, love that illuminates. It's love that is actually the creatrix of form. If any of you went to Sunday school, and they used to have, at least when I went to Sunday school, God is love. They got that one right, right? Because it is. It's a literal fabric of love. So love is a beautiful, that brings us here. I had the great privilege of going out to Eastern Oregon to Jennifer's 7-day retreat. And it was thrilling just to be in Eastern Oregon. I don't know if any of you have been there. I've been to Western Oregon pretty frequently, but it was gorgeous. So she gave this beautiful guided meditation. And the guided meditation, and that, I had experienced that, at least in that year from both Ani's teachings, Lodra's teachings, and Jennifer's, of the heart cave. It's vital that you know that within yourself, or otherwise it's going to be kind of out here or over here up to certain circumstances, and you're going to experience this vast, amazing love of what we're actually speaking of, the real love, right? The fabric that everything is made from, right? It's the great mother, it's the great creatrix. And she bursts in and dissolves continuously in all form. And I, had touched that in the heart cave, and it was really quite beautiful. Because in my personality, I tend to be much more open to the vastness of love and to the vastness of being. But it just wouldn't quite wake up in this individual heart. Perhaps, who knows, karma, the way we're raised, I mean, who knows, who cares, right? But it just wasn't quite awake, and I knew that. So these experiences of the ignition, it's an igniting of what's already there, right? And so the heart would kind of like, woo. And then, of course, what I was sort of trying to explain of there is no in, there is no out, right? It collapses at that point. And so it was very beautiful. I mean, just really permeated this whole system, and it changed everything, really. But at Jennifer's retreat, it was just a spontaneous experience of the vast love, the unimaginable love, the great creatrix of everything poured from this individual heart and poured forth and saw itself in the creation of all things. If you've ever seen Alex Gray, have you ever seen his illustrations, his paintings, right? And, they're amazing. I mean, he would travel and see the actuality. And it was whether you were Tibetan or whether you were English or whether you were Indian or whatever, they all see the same thing, and different traditions call it different names, and so it's grandmother's web, right? That great web that you can see that interconnects everything. It's the bridge, if you want to call it that, between the form and the unformed. And they can call it sacred geometry, Indra's net, grandmother's web, there's different names for it. But everyone sees the same thing when it's seen. So this web and this illumination and this power and this beauty like pours out of this individual heart and pours forth and sees itself and creates itself in the myriad of things, and the weaving of what is here and what the actuality of where you live and what the heart is and how you function was recognized. And so for hours afterwards, I just saw everything exactly as it is. The luminosity, the ground, the dark ground that was everywhere. There's the womb and the root of everything, and this web that connects everything. And there were beautiful trees there. That's the only thing I miss in Crestone are the big hardwood trees, and these gorgeous trees and these intricate, some of them were blossoming, and these leaves, and everything was this web and this luminosity and this ground, everything. We had a wonderful lunch, and the lunch was made up of this. It permeated everything. It's the great unimaginable mystery that we're living. We're living it. And it's just opening to it. Now it went away, that amazing, visual, the experience of itself. But the truth of it didn't go away. That pouring forth this heart is the source of love, the great creatrix, the unimaginable power, the great interconnectedness, the great beauty. And then it flows back and includes every cell within this being. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Right? So what brought you here? Yes, opens the doors, opens the wisdom, opens to make conscious the guidance that's already guiding your life, right? We're just making it conscious, right? As an American culture, we're really into the precise language, and that's very helpful. I mean, precision in language can be very helpful. But listening to a very brilliant designed Dharma talk is lovely. I've sit through hundreds of them, and I've benefited by listening to that really precise language. And I'm not saying that most didn't give a transmission, but frankly, most didn't. But they had the talk down, and it was like helpful, right? It was wonderful how the language could kind of like line you up to the reality. It can't take you through it, but it can point it to you, and it's precise and lines you up. But the transmission, it's like it's like an empty channel, if you want to call it that. I know we don't like that, it's like New Age, but it really is. It's like this open, empty channel that the personhood and there's a uniqueness that comes through, but the ideas and how it should be and how it should not be and all of that no longer, at least in this moment, it doesn't exist here. It's just this living transparency light that comes from this sense of root, of essence, and then it finds the words and it expresses, and the particular sangha or the community draws it forth for the open essence. It's a tremendous joy. There's no greater joy. The teacher is taught in the teaching. So the experience here is this kind of exquisite empty, light-filled quality that's finding words in the way, and but what it does is why we pick it up as a transmission, is because then it touched that is the living light essence within each and everyone here. And so I can always tell in a retreat, it clicks. And then the light itself, the pure awareness itself, begins to teach and move and respond in the Sangha. And this job is just to keep open and listen and not project what it thinks or what it's always heard before, or this is like an answer that is a pat answer. So the transmission is where it's at. If there's an open channel actually happening, it touches that is in you. And then there's a certain point that it all starts to sing the same song. So the encouragement is to be more aware of the transmission and then let the words come in a secondary way. And then you're getting what's actually happening.